can spot and stalk in any part of whitetail country, coast to coast, border to border. Now I know some of you kind of made up with your ground blind or tree stand. You really don't want to leave them alone out in the woods. You always want to be there, but there are times when you may want to abandon them and go to a spot and stalk hunt. You're watching Deer and Deer Hunting TV. You can spot and stalk in any part of whitetail country, coast to coast, border to border. How do you do it? Well, the first thing is buy a quality binocular. You gotta have quality because you're gonna be spending a lot of time behind that binocular. Whether you're in dark woods, spotting and stalking down big canyons like over in Pennsylvania and stuff in the mountains, or out west like here where we're hunting whitetails or mule deer in the big openness. Spend some money. Second thing is get up high. Now, that's an obvious one, but you definitely need to be on different vantage points, high vantage points in your hunting area so you can see down and around. Now, again, if you're hunting in the eastern woods, you can get up on a ridge and scan down into maybe an acorn and oak bottom. Same thing in the Great Plains. Get up high on some grassy knob, scan down into a river bottom. And of course out west, well, there's all kinds of options where to get up. The third and final tactic that I would suggest for spot and stalk hunting, slow down. Any terrain, any environment can hide deer easily. Out in the east, you have different little nooks and coulees and draws as you're looking into these areas. In the Great Plains, deer can hide in CRP grass, tall grass, or maybe a little willow thicket right out in the middle of a field. And out west, well, there's all these little gullies and draws they can drop into. Sit down and spend some time picking apart each spot and then look at the best area and look at it again. Now I know some of you kind of made up with your ground blind or tree stand. You really don't want to leave them alone out in the woods. You always want to be there. But there are times when you may want to abandon them and go to a spot and stalk hunt. What's the main time? Well, during the rut. If you're seeing some activity from your tree stand and it's a roundabout merry-go-round over in a certain section of woods 150 yards away and there's no way to shoot it with your shotgun, rifle, muzzleloader, or bow, what should you do? Get down out of that stand and stalk. Those deer are so preoccupied with breeding and lovemaking. The only one with a clear mind there is a doe. So keep your eyes on her. Try not to be spotted by any of them, but especially by her, and do your spot and stalk hunt. That's one time when you should just abandon tradition and get out of the tree or ground blind. Spot and stalk hunting, it can work anywhere for deer hunting, whitetails and mule deer, and you can adapt it. But definitely, if you have some of the terrain, topography to work with, give it a try.
Coming up.
And we saw a few does feeding in the alfalfa off in the distance. But I know that doe group did not have a doe that was ready, because when you see mature does with fawns at this time of year, when it's the rut, you know that doe is not the one that's going. It's down to me, and I've got 4 days to do it. How long is it going to take? So here we are at one of my favorite places on earth, the Sandhills of Nebraska. If you would drive through here not knowing, you would think this is a sea of nothingness. You would think it's basically grass and sand and cattle, and that's what it is. It is working cattle ground, and my friends Scott and LaKayla Fink, they've been farming this land for many generations, their family has, and I've been coming here for almost a decade. What I've come to love about this country, number one, is the water. You will not believe how good the drinking water is here. It is pure beyond belief. And the deer are pretty much unpressured for most of the year. But this gun season is unique. It falls during the peak of the rut during most years, which for me is super special. And one thing that I've had to program my brain on is when you're a gun hunter, normally you plan on consistency as far as I'm gonna sit this stand, I'm gonna sit this blind, and that's gonna be my spot for gun season. But out here, you have to be very flexible because these bucks put on a lot of ground, a lot of miles during the rut. During this week in November, these bucks could be one place today, 5 miles down the road tomorrow. It's that distinct because they are going from valley to valley, pasture to pasture, looking for does, and that's exactly what we experienced on this hunt. We had 6 hunters in camp. We all shot bucks on opening day, which is a first for me, but the action was fast and furious. So opening morning for me, I thought it was gonna be very familiar. I thought we were gonna go out there. I thought I'd probably punch my tag right away because I'm not picky. We didn't see too much on opening morning, unfortunately. The sun came up, we had one smaller buck come in before shooting light, and we saw a few does feeding in the alfalfa off in the distance. But I know that doe group did not have a doe that was ready because when you see mature does with fawns at this time of year, when it's the rut, you know that doe is not the one that's going. But then Laverne, our guide, came and got us. He had seen some just giant bucks cruising. We tried to get on one. He was already across the road by the time we got down there. So we're gonna take just a little bit of brick, get back out there and try to get on another one. Lo and behold, by late morning, all 5 other guys had filled their tags.
That's a beautiful buck.
It's down to me, and I've got 4 days to do it. How long is it gonna take?
Up next.
I was shaking so bad.
And no matter how many times I do this, I get excited, big or small, I shoot them all, you know that?
He went right to that tree there.
He makes basically 2 bounds, and he's gone. None of us saw him exit the woods, but with any deer, any wounded deer, I had to mark that spot.
I saw it, yeah. I was shaking so bad.
Did Dan's buck fever get the best of him? Find out when Deer and Deer Hunting TV returns. Deer and Deer Hunting TV is brought to you by
So when I say you have to be flexible, I knew that was gonna happen right after everybody else filled out because they wanted to put me on a good deer. Obviously I wanted to shoot a good deer, but I also knew that it could come from either sitting in a blind or it could come from spot and stalk. So Scott had a plan. He was gonna put us out in a blind. It was actually a blind I've been very familiar with. You've probably seen me shoot deer out of this blind before in the past.
Yeah, that buck I shot with David, I shot right here.
We got up in there, we sat for a little bit. Deer started coming out again, mostly antlerless deer. There was a small spike in there, kind of a goofy looking spike. I knew that it was probably gonna be a good spot, but the wind really started picking up. We had about 20 to 25 mile an hour winds. We knew it was gonna get windier. And Scott told us, so he was gonna come get us when he was glassing if he saw something he thought we could do a spot and stalk on. So I'm familiar with this spot. I know the deer can come from anywhere and just show up out of nowhere. We weren't in that blind for 10 minutes and we look across the field, a monster mule deer buck comes out of the woods, but he's way too far away. I'm not gonna take a chance on a shot like that. And he was on a beeline. I don't know if he was looking for does or if he was just trying to get out of Dodge, but we had a really good look at him. It gave us a little bit of excitement right out of the bat. So Scott had told us, be ready because he's gonna come get us if he glasses something. Guess what? Here comes the pickup truck. We knew it was go time and there was no time to mess around. Now it's time to do the stalk, and thankfully it wasn't a long one.
Did I hit him? Oh gosh, I was shaking a lot. You think I hit him? I was shaking so bad.
And no matter how many times I do this, I get excited, big or small, I shoot them all, you know that?
He went right to that tree there.
He makes basically 2 bounds, and he's gone. None of us saw him exit the woods. But with any deer, any wounded deer, I had to mark that spot.
Okay. I saw it, yeah. I was shaking so bad. I was hoping he'd stop on that tree when I was over here.
Could you guys see him when you first stepped in there?
Kind of. He was walking.
He was in the deep grass.
Let me just take a look here just real quick, see if there's any blood without all of us going in there. Just kind of see if you see any blood up here or anything else. I'm just very, very anxious. I just hope I got this deer.
He didn't go very far. He went about 25, 30 yards, maybe tops. And when Scott whistled for me, and I'm behind him, I'm coming up there, and he just does a little bit of a point, I see my buck down, and oh my gosh, it was just that adrenaline dump.
I'm just gonna stay on him. We got him. That was the most exciting hunt I've ever had. This is a big Nebraska buck.
This one was super special. It was my best Nebraska buck ever. It was my my biggest clean 10-pointer ever. I scored a little bit over 150.
That is a big buck. Wow. He's a 10. He's a 10. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deer.
Thank you, Scott. I'm still shaking. That is a buck.
I know you guys have probably experienced this before, but does it get any better than that? You know, end of the day, everybody's successful. We're processing deer, there's a few drinks maybe happening, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of laughing and good times, and just a lot of thankfulness for another beautiful day in the deer woods with family and friends in a beautiful country like this. So you're gonna take your first Western whitetail hunt, or you just wanna upgrade your rig to hunt better at home for more versatility and maybe better low light performance. That's what you can do with a scope like this. This is a right-on primal. I've been using it this fall a lot. I really like it. It's got several features here. It's a 2-12 by 44 on a 30mm tube. Now that's gonna allow a lot of more light in this scope, whether I'm deer hunting or whether I'm predator hunting. I'm deer hunting a lot. I really like this scope. The 2 power, I have that down. I'm tree stand hunting, or if I'm stalking in thicker woods, which we do have some of these cedar thickets here, you need a fast shot. You gotta have low magnification. You can't have that thing turned all the way up. If you want to have it turned all the way up, that is super nice. You're going to take those longer shots, and we did it out here at the range. You're talking 300, 400 yards, which is totally doable. You just have to practice a little bit, match that bullet to this gun, and you're going to be fine. The other thing with these scopes is predator hunting. It's got, even if you're just varmint hunting or if you're target shooting, the multi-reticles, you can adjust this. You can actually, like I said, match the bullet. You get your feet per second to the scope, dial it super in, and you're gonna be seriously dropping dimes. You're gonna be keyholing shot after shot after shot, but that's what you want a nice high performing scope for. And then you've got this nice throw lever on there. When it's go time, you're spot and stalk hunting, you don't have time to mess around and look down. So you're spot and stalk hunting, you have to move fast. You can just take your thumb, all full power, or just by memory, I can come halfway down. That is a very nice feature on this scope. That's the right-on primal. They have several options, and they also have great binoculars. You can check them out at rightonoptics.com. All right, we just got to camp. It's time to get into predator mode. For me, that's one shot with my bow. If I'm hunting with my crossbow, one shot with my crossbow. I want to maintain that predator mode. That means it can happen at any time. It's fun to shoot arrow after arrow after arrow to get that rhythm, but when I'm hunting, I know I only get one chance, and that's what I'm going to practice today. Okay, when I'm talking about predator mode, I mean just that, one shot. I have to get myself in that mode, just like if you're shooting free throws. Every shot counts. That's with bow hunting. Now, some practice is going to be more realistic than others. Sometimes I'll be shooting out of my Banks blind, the one that I have up in the woods, or sometimes I'll be shooting out of a lock-on or a ground blind. Today, I just want to practice that one shot. I'm standing on the ground. It's not super realistic, but sometimes if you're walking through the woods to your stand, you come across a deer. So what I do is I practice with what I'm going to shoot. I got several broadheads in the practice mode. I also have several practice points with fly just about exactly like this, but I'm going with the practice point that's closed, the blades don't open, but it flies just like it would if I was hunting. One arrow, that's it. Let's go get it. Okay, not bad. When we're talking about predator mode, we're not talking about 3D archery. We're not talking about how small of a spot I can hit. Yeah, that's great. Predator mode is about making that shot a quick, clean kill under pressure. When you can do that, you can put those deer down very quickly and humanely.